this here. Welcome everyone to the 5 portion of this week's entertainment. I'm Brian Bishop.
That's
I'm Brian Bishop.
For the flick
for the top 5, which is
this week's
top 5 good
we'll be
dads.
bringing you,
Time to shine some light on some good dads. There's lots and lots of bad dads, turns out, in movies. Some entertaining, some horrifying. But there's actually a long list, Anderson, fruitful list, robust list of good dads out there. We're gonna highlight a few of them.
Yeah, and I just had a little happy accident. Hopefully that's as a harbinger of things to come with this episode, Brian. But I didn't even realize the featured artist this week is the Mock Puppets, and the first lyric was "My father once told me." I always listen to the opening riff, but I don't listen much beyond that. I had no idea that was the first lyric. And it was right before we heard you saying your "Hey Film Vault" was "My father once told me," which is not something that I didn't plan it either. I mean, sometimes it's too much. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't do that. You know what I mean?
That's not.
I don't like that in movies.
Not an Anderson move.
No, it's not an Anderson move. I don't like it in movies where it's singing about what we're watching. That gives me the deuce chills.
Or or when the music, they call them needle drops, when the music is just timed so perfectly and so right for the situation. You know, it's a pop song that speaks directly to what's going on. Sometimes it's done self-aware, if it's, Walking on Sunshine or something, but a lot of times it's just a little too on the nose.
Usually what you're looking at when something like that happens is a slow motion reaction shot of Owen Wilson.
Interesting. That's oddly specific.
I just feel like that's usually what I'm seeing, something, or maybe Ben Stiller.
I'm often thinking to myself, this is what cocaine sounds like.
I actually thought of "I Don't Care" just now. I did think of that. All right, Brian, let's get to it. Top 5 good dads, which is a rarefied moment for us to have something this positive on the show. Usually we're doing negative things, or at least the more evil side of things, like bad. First we did bad dads, then we did incompetent dads.
That's right.
We originally did worst movie dads for Father's Day back June 8th, 2012. And then we did most incompetent dads, which was in honor of me becoming a first-time father. And that was released October 14th, 3 days before my boy was born.
Oh, just less than a month after my girl was born.
Mm-hmm. It's true. Because I did the math right there, and that is true. Criteria, Bri.
That had to be dads. That had to be good.
Yeah. Now, I always have a little bit of a hard time with these kinds of things. Like, are we going with like the best dads? Like, oh my God, that dad was so good, or our favorite good dads? You know what I mean?
There's so many. I ended up. Let me look at my list here real quick. I tried to pull a few that got talked about a little less on this show. I tended towards ones that would make for good clips. Oh, we got clips. I got clips,
Jesus.
and. Yeah, so and try to shine a light. There's a few maybe better known, more prominent
oh my God, your clips.
dads.
Settle down with the clips. I'm looking at your clips. Wait, Brian has clips for 5, 4, 3, 2, no 1.
Number 1 is, I'll just say it's in a foreign language, so it would not have played. I could have very easily gotten a clip to get the 5 for 5, but I think that would have enraged you past the point of return.
That would never stop you.
True, but I also am thinking of the listeners. Enraging you, no problem, but upsetting the listeners, can do.
Let's get, you didn't mind upsetting Tam when she initially...
I'm still pretty sure Tam assigned us Unhinged so we could rip on it.
I'm telling you, Brian, I spoke with Tam on the phone, and she said that's not the reason why I assigned it.
Is it possible that Tam is an unreliable narrator and intentionally told you that to throw you off the scent?
It's possible that you don't listen to a goddamn thing, and it's remarkable to me that you ever graduated any kindergarten and beyond, because you can't listen to shit. I told you that she assigned us Unhinged because it's the type of movie that we would normally not flick fest.
Yeah,
it's not the type of movie we would talk about.
We do normally concentrate on good movies. I agree.
It's not true either. That's actually kind of true.
All of mine,
I try.
All 5 of mine are good movies, at least for this top 5. It's funny, a couple of bigger movies that rarely get discussed on the show, so I'll be interested to dive into those when the time comes. Mm-hmm. Any crossover. That would be outrageous if we had crossover.
No, I don't think we have any crossover with the exception unless we line up on our number one, because I just saw your list, because that's another problem with lists and clips. The way that we do them now is you have to send me your clips, and God forbid I just have a link. It always has to have a little picture window down there at the bottom of the Google Mail, of the Gmail, showing me what the link is. Why you got to do that? Just have a link.
What if there's a way to
I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to Google.
Well, now that Google and YouTube are married, one and the same, I can't imagine that's ever going away.
Yeah, probably not. All right, so let's just get right to it. I feel pretty strongly about my number one, so I'm going to ask that you go first.
Not a fan. Number 5 for me is a big movie. However, we don't talk about it all that much. It's funny. I really think this is the kind of movie, not obviously in plot structure, but the kind of movie that I think Unhinged wished it would be. I'm talking about Taken from 2008. Brian Mills, the rare ass-kicking Brian. You don't see a lot of ass-kicking Brians in movies. Played by Liam Neeson, of course. Taken, directed by Pierre Morel. Just 58% of Rotten Tomatoes. Rotten.
What is it?
58%.
How many? Uh-huh.
No.
Seems high.
Really? You like Taken. Stop it.
No, I didn't like Taken. I didn't understand.
Oh.
This is one of these movies that kind of upset me, because it's like I was kind of taken aback. Ooh, I didn't even try to do that. Taken aback, Brad. I was taken aback.
That's the sequel.
Taken aback that so many people were so obsessed with this movie.
Well, it's a good movie.
It's exactly what you'd expect it to be, right?
I agree.
Right. I mean, it didn't shine any new light on anything new. It didn't do anything that I had never seen a movie do before. It's Liam Neeson's kicking ass and trying to find his daughter. Here's my question: if it's so great,
it's not great. It's good.
And it's so, but people fucking lost their shit. I mean, it's become part of pop culture, right?
Yeah, I would say so.
I have a particular set of skills. There's so many movies that are better than this that deserve more attention, but they don't get it. It confounds me. If this movie is so obvious and so good, why wasn't it made 30 years ago? I guess
That's funny you mention that, because the premise of the movie is Brian Mills allows his 17-year-old daughter, played by Maggie Grace, who's 24, playing 17, which is a problem for me, to follow U2, the band U2, on their European tour. Now, Anderson, this movie came out in 2008. This is a sign that the script had been sitting around for years. I looked for evidence. I researched on IMDb, looked in the trivia, looked on Wikipedia. Couldn't find evidence of this. However, I believe it very strongly to be true, because what fucking 17-year-old is obsessed with U2 in 2008? That is simply not happening. And there's every once in a while, and it's such an easy thing to fix. Like, you could make it any band that was big in 2008, but for some reason they kept it at U2 for some stupid reason. And this is a tell in a certain number of screenplays. Like, I always think back to Liar Liar with Jim Carrey. Like, his kid wanted so badly to be Jose Canseco. Now, I was a huge Jose Canseco fan as a young boy in 1988, but that movie came out in 1994. Trust me when I say no fucking little kid wanted to be Jose Canseco in 1994. That ship had sailed, and they were on to Ken Griffey Jr., or they were on to whoever else. Canseco was yesterday's news. Trust me. And there's little tells like
I don't know why I should trust you.
Because I was a huge Jose Canseco fan. Huge Jose Canseco fan.
Okay, so once you stopped liking him,
no, I was the only one who liked him. There was no little kid like the kid in Liar Liar who liked him.
Wait, so you were being like a contrarian by liking him, or you were trying to be like hipster outlier guy?
I was hanging on too long.
I was like that with Willie Stargell. I remember he was my favorite, and he was way over the hill by the time I liked him.
Yeah, it's hard to let go.
Willie Stargell. I mean, he was an old man by the time that I was old enough to understand baseball.
So Brian Mills is a good man. He a good father. He travels to Europe and all over the world, really, to track down his missing daughter. Over the course of the movie, Anderson, he kills 35 people in order to get to his daughter. Would be higher on my list if his actions didn't lead to his daughter getting repeatedly kidnapped in the sequels. But be that as it may, you got that clip ready? Brian here is going to tell his daughter's kidnapper. Well, it's a very famous scene, but he's going to tell his daughter's kidnapper over the phone what exactly will happen if he doesn't let his daughter go.
I don't know who you are. I don't know what you want. and I will kill you.
Good luck.
He hung up, Brian.
I know, but they will meet again. Trust me.
And I will kill you.
It's a good dad right there.
That's what they call over-the-top acting.
It's
good.
Movie's a
It's fine.
little over the top, but it's
It's
intentionally
fine.
so.
It did. I mean, it every now and again, like something like this happens, and I'm just like, really? That's what everyone's losing their shit over? It confuses me. It's a glitch in the Matrix, I think, maybe, Brian.
You're just not made for this world.
I think maybe it's a glitch in the Matrix, which is a movie I need to see very soon. All right, here we go. Number 5 for me. Wait a minute. Yeah, number 5. All right. This one, the only reason why it's so high, or number 5 and not like number 4 or 3, is because it's so recent, and this is recency bias. I get it for sure, but also this is a movie that I like very, very much. The movie is called Thunder Road. I like this movie very, very much. Came to us very recently.
Indeed. Good dad.
And
Good dad, though.
One of the scenes, a lot of the time, and I've talked about this before, like, I think of a movie, like when I think of Psycho Gorman, the very first thing I'm going to think of is his masterpiece with the eyes rolling back in their head, right? There's usually, like, sometimes there's only one thing that I remember. Like with Unhinged, the only thing that I'm really going to remember years from now is the courtesy tap line that kicks the whole thing off. With Thunder Road, the very first thing that I think of is him learning the clap game for his daughter because he needed to make that connection because it was that important to him. And the skillfulness of in which that scene was written and executed was so good because it told you so much about him as a dad and what he was willing to do. And without any words, it just, he had to draw some hands on a piece of paper, and then he had to be very tired in the morning, giving you the idea that he was up all night learning it so that he could make that connection with his daughter. And it brings chills to me still. I get just thinking about that. It's just such a great scene and a very, very good movie that I really like, even though it was just 2018. But I'm talking about Officer Jim in Thunder Road and how he went above and beyond to make that connection with his daughter as being a single dad because there was the estranged marriage.
Yeah, things were going well for him.
No, but a lot of crazy things happen in that movie. There's a lot of moments. I mean, a lot of people will just think about the opening funeral sequence in which he shows every single spectrum of emotion, every emotion on the spectrum. He gets out there in that funeral for his mom in the opening scene. But it's that hand clapping scene that I will always remember. And there's also the slapping of a corpse later in the movie, which also stands out. God, I love that Thunder Road. Hey, you can watch this on Amazon Prime right now. And if you're a Patreon listener, I always do links to all of these movies, Patreon direct links to all these movies in our notes, in our show notes, as well as our lists, both of our lists that I put down towards the bottom so you don't see them by mistake if you want to be surprised as you listen. Also, I should mention that Brian just played that clip from Taken. He's about to play 3 more clips before the show's over.
That's true.
And I have been posting these shows to YouTube for the last couple of weeks now. I'm posting the shows to YouTube just because why not? The shows should have been available on YouTube since the get-go. So going back 10 years now, they should have always been there. So, I'm spending the extra 30, 40 minutes it is each week just to make sure that they're up there for if you like to listen to things on YouTube or you like to share things on YouTube. Can't hurt. However, because of copyright claims, the clips will be omitted. So, I mean, you're going to be on YouTube anyways. I would imagine you could find that clip pretty easily.
That's a good point. You're already there. Don't navigate away from the show.
Look for the Film Vault YouTube page. I'll put a link to it so you can subscribe if you like. And I'm also going to be asking you guys to find for you guys to do the work. Find certain clips from certain shows. Give me timestamps. Things that a particular review that you might like. I know a lot of people liked our Honeyland review, Brian. That went south pretty quick. But that's
what a weird movie to still have life on this show.
I know that's the only standalone review that I have up on our YouTube channel right now. But if you'd like to hear Brian and I both lose our shit while talking about a very serious documentary called Honeyland, you can do so. It's over on our
the
YouTube channel.
Hardest we've laughed at a non-comedy on the show.
Yeah. You know, the hardest I've laughed in the last, probably since COVID, was usually I could easily say it was something that happened on the after disaster, which might still be the case, but I don't know. Because when Jillian, my wife, showed me the clip of the Zoom call where the guy was the cat, I was not prepared for that. And I could not stop laughing.
Very fun.
He was in court and he was saying, "I'm not a cat." And his eye was going to the
Eyes
left.
going
and
side
he
to
looked all
side.
nervous. My God, I couldn't stop laughing. Like I could not catch my breath. I
I'm
was
prepared to
concerned with my
go.
health.
I'm not a cat. I'm here. I'm not a cat. I'm here live.
I saw the real life guy. I guess he's trying to cash in on it and make mugs and whatnot and T-shirts and stuff. He's a good looking guy. Cowboy hat. Looks like one of the what's he look like? Salt of the
Cowboy?
earth type guy. Cowboy.
Is he-
Very very sweet
To
man.
be clear, sorry, is he a cat or is he not a cat?
He was not a cat when I saw him. Came up because another guy was like, he was talking to Maxine Waters, I think, and he was upside down. It was just his disembodied face upside down with some crazy blue background. I just love it when things go wrong for old people on Zoom. It's one of my favorite things ever. Okay.
Number 4 for me is actually, you know what? As speaking of which, is a lawyer. He also would probably have trouble with Zoom these days. And this is also a big movie that doesn't get discussed very much on our show. I'm talking about Mel Horowitz, played by Dan Hedaya from Clueless, 1995's Clueless, directed by Amy Heckerling. He was on my list of top 5 wealthy characters years ago. He is a highly paid lawyer in Beverly Hills, $500 an hour at one point, they mentioned. He's divorced from his second wife, so he's a single dad to share. So initially you might think, oh, he comes across as kind of a bad dad, right? Like, he's a workaholic. He's a single dad. How much attention is he really paying to his daughter, et cetera, et cetera? But I almost put this higher on my list because I love this scene so much. This clip here, he's going to, his gruff demeanor belies how much he cares for his daughter. And when a too cool for school hipster arrives at his house to take his daughter for a date, here is Mel's entire interaction with the young man who would be dating his daughter.
Hey, you. Anything happens to my daughter, I got a 45 and a shovel. I doubt anybody would miss you.
So good. Mel Horowitz, Dan Hedaya. He's gruff. He's got a bit of a no-nonsense exterior, but deep down cares very much for his daughter. And he goes so far as to preemptively threaten the boy who would be taking her out on a date.
Yes. I like that character. I like that actor. My dad loved that guy. Love that.
Is Dan Hedaya still alive?
What? Is my dad still
Is
alive?
Dan
No, he died.
Hedaya still alive? No, your father's no longer with us, unfortunately.
Why don't you figure that out, Brian, while I do my number? Actually, no, you can't miss this. You can't miss this. My number 5. You ready?
No. Number 4, because you already went.
Number 4.
Dan
Yeah, I'm ready
Hedaya
for
is
number 4.
alive. He's 80 years old.
His beard starts very high on his face.
Dan Hedaya? I didn't know that.
He's got his beard starts right below his eye.
My God, he's still acting. He was in Fantastic Beasts. He's in 2 movies this year.
Mm-hmm. Why wouldn't he be? Good actor.
Yeah, like him.
How old? How old
80.
is he? Oh, it's the new 70.
Indeed. All right, hit me with your number 4.
All right, number 4. This is, it's been too long since I've given a good solid hipster pick, and this one came to mind. I'm like, you know what? Deserve it. Deserve it. Not a good movie.
If this is Atticus Finch, I'm going to lose my mind.
Atticus Finch. No, number 4 for me is a movie that you can't even find anywhere, and that's okay. It might be on YouTube. It could possibly be on YouTube. It's okay. It's not the kind of movie that you need to see, but hey, it's not going to hurt to be aware of this movie. Directed by Johnny Depp, called The Brave. Brian, it's called The Brave.
Okay.
The Brave. And the character is Raphael in The Brave, 1997's The Brave. It's the only feature-length movie that Johnny Depp has directed to this point. I know that he's working on a Keith Richards documentary I keep hearing about. But this is the only feature-length movie that he's ever directed. And The Brave stars Johnny Depp as Raphael, and he is a Native American fella who lives in a trash heap. He lives in a dump, essentially.
Oh, wow.
And there's not a whole lot of prospects for him or his family until a stranger comes along, offers him a movie role in a snuff film where he is the lead. And to get his family out of poverty and to give them a fighting chance, he accepts the role, Brian. And that is a good dad. That right there's a good father.
Where,
Raphael.
How on earth did you think?
Good on you.
How did you think of this?
Good on you, Raphael. I think of The Brave quite often because it's just so weird that Johnny Depp wrote, and I mean, he didn't write it, but he directed and starred in this movie
as a co-writer.
Oh, he's one of the writers? And I remember clamoring for this movie way back when, and I got a copy of it somehow, and I remember watching it and just going, is it over yet? I worked hard to get this. I couldn't wait for it to end. It was just so dreadful and sad and not really that well made, and it was just not a movie for me, like not a single shred of levity. You know those kind of movies that I just don't dig, like the Mystic Rivers of the world, the Babel to a lesser extent, but yeah, what's that one? 21 Grams. Get out of here! No time for you.
Wait, did you mention who the co-star is in this movie?
I did not.
Marlon Brando.
I'm gonna call him co-star.
He's second credited.
Yeah. I mean, I barely remember this movie, but I remember him sacrificing quite a bit as a father. The Brave. The Brave. How do we feel about Johnny Depp, who, I don't know, maybe he's got some Native American in him. I don't know, does he? Is that a known thing? I don't know, but he's playing a Native American.
Feels like cultural appropriation.
Is this red face? Is he in red face?
I don't know. I haven't seen the film.
Cancel this guy.
You tell me.
I don't believe he was wearing any makeup to make him look any more or less Johnny Deppish.
He's wearing a bandana.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know about bandana. No makeup, as far as I can see.
I could be wrong. But if I recall, Brando is in one scene. I could be wrong, but I remember him kind of coming and going. I could be wrong. All right,
yeah.
The Brave. There's my hipster pick. It's been a while. Pretty good hipster pick there.
That's a pretty good hipster pick. I was gonna say that's a movie I did not know existed. It cannot be seen by anybody as of right now.
It could be on YouTube.
It might be.
A lot of the time these movies show up on YouTube. I just can't vouch for their quality. Sometimes they're very, very poor quality.
Very, very poor. All right, I got a clip from the next one. But Anderson, why don't you look on YouTube and see if you can track down The Brave? I don't know why you would. It's not a good film, like you said, but maybe someone wants to check it out for the same morbid curiosity you had. Were you aware that it was not a good movie when you saw it?
No, I remember actually. This is when I'd still be like clamoring for movies and allowing myself to get really excited and thinking that because I think of movies as friends and things that are always going to be there, pillars in my life. And it's exciting to find new ones that are going to be there forever. Like the most recent example is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Like that's a movie that I'll always be able to lean on. I love that movie. Like I have a deep love affair with that movie. And I would hype myself up and read about movies that were around the corner thinking that might be my new friend or, a new pillar, a new thing in my life that I will always, have to cherish. And they always let me down. So I no longer do that. I let movies surprise me and I don't, but yeah, I was reading I was a Johnny Depp guy. I like Johnny Depp through the 90s. And I was excited to see this dark movie that he was directing.
Was this the same year as Fear and Loathing? 97?
Could be.
Sounds familiar.
Fear and Loathing was kind of my last straw with him.
Well, this came out the same year. That was a tough year.
I found the trailer on YouTube, and it's really hard to research this movie. You can't even find it on IMDb without doing some extra stuff in your key search, word search, because it just wants to show you the Disney Pixar Brave movie or the.
I was gonna say this is a tough one to look up.
Yeah, it's tough to look up, but you can go to Johnny Depp's IMDb page and find it that way.
Reverse engineer it. Reverse.
But no, I see a trailer, and that's about it.
Yeah. I just realized now, Anderson, my first 5, 4, 3, and 2 are all fathers of girls, fathers of daughters. Even number 3, who has 2 children, both daughters. No, he has a son too. Oh, broke the streak. I forgot about that. This number 3 for me came up recently on, I guess 3 years ago on top 5 father-daughter scenes. This is Jim Baker
But Brian, you talked about this movie without giving anything away. You talked about this movie last week.
I did actually do that.
Yes.
Although I think, what was it? What was the context? What was?
I said without giving anything away. Let's just move it along. Move it. Keep it moving, Brian.
Oh wait, no. Was it on the Patreon? It was on.
Keep it moving,
Number
Brian.
3 for me is Jim Baker, father to Samantha Baker, played by Paul Dooley, in 16 Candles from 1984, written and directed by John Hughes, directorial debut for Mr. John Hughes. So Paul Dooley is a bit of a checked out dad, a little bit like Mel Horowitz, I guess, in a sense. He's got a lot going on. His oldest daughter's getting married. He's got in-laws and parents and generations of family descending on his Shermer, Illinois home. And he's a bit harried, and he forgets his daughter's birthday, and you're like, well, he's not that good of a dad. He's forgot his daughter's 16th birthday, et cetera, et cetera. And then he comes out for this really sweet, really heartfelt scene where he has this heart-to-heart talk with his daughter, Samantha, 16-year-old daughter, the titular 16-year-old daughter, who is sleeping on the couch because, like I said, all their in-laws have descended on the in-laws and grandparents have descended upon the house. And he's like, oh, my God, I forgot your birthday. I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. And then the conversation turns, they're about to wrap it up, and Samantha gets emotional, and he's like, what's going on? And she's like, oh, I have this fucking guy at school. He's a senior. His name's Jake. He's amazing. He's perfect. And I'm just falling around like this dork. And that's when her dad very sweetly offers this observation.
Why do you think you're a dork?
Yeah, sure, Daddy.
That was called makeup talk. That was like, sorry, I fucked up, honey, but here.
Yeah, but he offers her some wisdom and some kind words at a very crucial time in her life.
No. It's great.
I myself think of the scene a lot because I have no doubt that I'll have to have a version of this talk with Tessa someday when she gets to be a certain age. Like, girls when they're teenagers they doubt themselves and they think that they're a dork because they like a guy or whatever. And I have no doubt that I'm gonna have to have a talk like this with Tessa someday.
I don't envy you, but I will impart some wisdom.
Please.
And I will send you this clip when the time comes.
Thank you.
You can sit her down. Hey, Brian, I'm going to give you a little bit of the business right now, okay?
Give it to me.
I remember years ago, on more than one occasion, defending 16 Candles. The ardent listeners will back me on this. I love this movie. I grew up with this movie, saw this movie countless times. I'm talking like 40, 50 times I've seen this movie. I've seen clips probably over more than that. And you would talk about how it's not that good. And I think now that you're kind of living the life with the daughter, I think maybe you respond to this movie more, just the idea of this movie more. You've come around. And
that could be. But I will say, Anderson, let me interrupt and just say, without any hyperbole, and I'm not trying to be like, I think we both hate that guy who's like, oh yeah, well, I'm totally into that thing too. We owned 16 Candles on VHS, and it was 40 or 50 times is a good conservative estimate for how many times this played in my home when I was a young lad. So you and I have that in common.
I wonder why. Yeah, we had that in common, but you didn't have the same revere that I had.
I think what happened was I remember vaguely talking about this movie a few years ago in the Film Vault era because I had seen it for the first time in well over a decade, maybe more. And I was like, a lot of the humor doesn't hold up. Like, it's got some really slapsticky shit, and there's Long Duck Dong, but the parts of this movie that work really work.
I think you were just trying to figure out what movies were good and what movies were bad, and you were trying to say this is not a good movie.
I don't think
I get it. You're trying to find your movie footing. I think
perhaps I don't remember ever thinking it was bad, but I remember being shocked when I saw it in let's just say 2010 or something. Like, wow, this is not what I remember.
Let's not kid ourselves, Brian. I mean, if anything adds to the movie for you, it's probably Long Duck Dong.
I beg your pardon? Oh, the long day. Yeah, well, that part's still hilarious.
Yeah, I mean,
no, that's
the humor doesn't really hold up except for the Long Duck Dong character. Right, I still find myself quoting Long Duck Dong often with the looks like a salad. Every time I see any kind of money or anything that's like a bunch of the same thing, but it's not like organized well, I say it looks like a salad. When they got the jock straps and they're putting this stuff, it looks like a salad. He didn't say salad, though. He said, looks like a salad. That's what he said.
definitely true.
And I say that often.
Oh, sexy girlfriend.
Okay, don't do that. I mean, that's definitely crossing the line. Come on, Brian. No more the line.
I can pull it off.
I love how that's the line.
Yeah, that's it.
Number three for me. This was lingering on my number one, right up there at around number one at various parts of the week, Brian. But sadly, Clifford Worley, he slipped. He slipped to the third spot in True Romance, and it is from one scene. I didn't really get to see him be much of a father. He has a brief...
he hadn't seen his son in many, many years, so how good of a father is he?
He had a brief encounter with his son Clarence, fuckhead that he is, and before he had to really put it all out there and be the type of dad that Clarence needed in this pivotal moment of his life. And without giving anything away, what Clifford Worley knowingly gives to protect the whereabouts of his son is a very big sacrifice. This also should have. I don't remember if this even came up in altruistic acts that we did towards the beginning of COVID, but this definitely belongs there. This is one of the great sacrifices in movie history.
But it's all for naught because he's got the address on his fridge.
All right. Fuckhead that he is. Hey, Brian. I got to tell you that this is my favorite scene in movie history. This is my favorite single scene in any movie I've ever seen.
You love it. You love it when the N-word is celebrated.
I mean, it's the N-word thing. No, it's the amount of. I like movies making me feel things, right? And that's cliche, and I'm not saying anything new here. Like people like movies.
Hold on, let me write that down.
Things. But I feel every single. I think every single emotion I can expect to ever feel in any movie in this one scene, and that's fear. It's humor. I'm scared. I already said fear. I'm invigorated. Really, like the entire.
It's a little bit sad.
Spectrum of emotions.
Sadness.
Definitely sad. Harrowing. I wince with with some of the violence. Obviously,
I think I'll take one of those Chesterfields now.
Yeah, so good. It's just such a well constructed scene, and I wonder how much of it. I mean, Tarantino, he's brilliant, and he wrote a brilliant scene. I wonder how much of it was from his original draft, and how much Tony Scott may have reworked it, or some of the actors. I mean, you had some big ass actors in that room.
Now you know that I've gone on and on about my Tarantino fanship back in the mid '90s. I will say the script that I read, and I read the original script, was word for word. And they changed around a lot of stuff in the movie. A lot of stuff got changed around in this movie. That scene was pretty much word for word.
All right,
I'm just telling you what I read.
Good.
Telling you what I read.
Okay. All right. Good.
I went to the source material.
Here's where we take a break, but we don't have any paid sponsorship this week. So if you would like to be a sponsor on this here program, we got a couple in the wings, a couple on deck. We got a couple listener spots coming up in the upcoming weeks.
I think about our listener sponsors a lot, Anderson. I wonder if anyone's got any violin lessons. I wonder if anyone's bought any wine.
Yeah. I keep in touch, and I know that at least one violin lesson has been gotten. I have not heard yet back from our wine sponsor, but I will be hearing soon enough. He's also going to be sending us some wine, so we'll get a second mention. And I keep in touch, and I also do a little quick back and forth with make sure that we got all our ducks in a row for on the phone before we run the spot. So I make sure that I treat our clients the way that clients should be treated. Tender love and care.
The white glove service.
That's right. That is true. Usually I talk to you day of the spot read just to make sure after, emails back and forth and bullet points and all that. But we give you a very reasonable rate. And if you would like to be a part of this, and help support the program and get the word out for your business, your small business, reach out to me at andersoncowan.com. And I know that our listeners are great, and they try and support the people that support us where they can, when it makes sense for them. So got a really interesting one coming up, I think, next week. So
nice.
Listen for that. And also, I cut the this is a dirty little secret, but I cut the spots. I cut spots out for when I think to do so, which is most every time, for the Patreon feed. I'd give them just a clean show. I leave the Amazon in there because there's so much nonsense in there. I don't, I know that some people like that, but if it's just a paid read, I cut it out unless it's a listener read.
Nice.
Like if you come directly to us, I'm not going to cut that out because, most of you who have gotten to this point anyways, you're Patreon listeners. You're listening to the Patreon RSS feed. You want to hear your spot in there. And a lot of the time it's a service like the one that we did with the service with, I'm drawing a blank on the name of it right now, but what was it? Filmocracy. Filmocracy,
That's right.
Yeah, where you can watch a lot of film festivals as they're happening from your own home. You can screen the movies that are screening at film festivals as they're happening. So that was one that I knew that a lot of our Patreon listeners would probably like to know exists.
You're
so
saying
I
it's curated.
Yeah, it was a bit curated for our listenership, Brian.
Nice.
But yeah, I mean, if you're part of Patreon and you get the RSS feed, you're not going to be hearing about Casper, even though we like our Casper beds.
I still have my Casper mattress. Number 2 for me, Anderson, was my number 1 all week until it was overtaken just this morning when I thought of one that I think is better, like hard to beat in terms of great dads. However, number 2 is pretty strong. Like I said, it was my number 1 for several days until it was dethroned. Talking about Mark Day, played by Josh Hamilton in 8th grade, 2018's 8th grade, written and directed by Bo Burnham. This is Kayla's dad. So Kayla has a crush on a boy at school, and there's this really, again, as I think I saw this, obviously I did. I saw this after Tessa was born, and so I'm thinking of her, and she has this crush on this fucking dipshit boy, and at school, and she's trying to talk to him, and in class, she tries to say something like, "Hey, how's it going?" Or "What about that homework?" Some sort of, just innocuous opening line. She's really nervous, and he looks at her. He's like, "You give blowjobs?" And yeah, that is what he says to her. "You give blowjobs?" And she's like, "What? I don't know." So she goes home. She Googles how to give a BJ, and it's like some adult film star, on YouTube, showing how to fillet a kitchen vegetable or something. I guess a banana or
kitchen vegetable.
Yeah, some sort of vegetable from the kitchen. And so Kayla goes down to the kitchen to practice the BJ she just learned on a banana. When her dad shows up unexpectedly, here is Mark Day. He walks in on her with the banana in her hand, and a great comedic scene ensues.
Am I playing this in its entirety? Because you gave me the end point, but you did not give me the outro, and I don't know where to cut it.
Oh, really? Cut it when she says, "I don't like bananas," okay, and she walks away in disgust.
This just occurred to me now, Brian, but this is the female version of the American Pie scene.
Yeah, but this is good.
Is that a banana?
What?
Having a hard time choking down the banana.
She doesn't like
Sure
it.
you like them?
Mm-hmm.
Honey, you don't look like...
Fine, I don't like bananas, okay?
Oh, she's such a jerk.
God, I remember watching that in the theater and laughing, but also thinking, God, what a perfect comedic scene. Like the setup, she doesn't like bananas, but she's caught, so she has to pretend like she likes it. But then the dad's also kind of hapless, but also attentive. But he's a good dad because he's making notes on his phone about his daughter because he's a single dad, I should point out. So he's under pressure to relate to this teenage girl, and he's making notes on his phone about what she likes and doesn't like. It's perfect.
Yeah, and that's the problem that I have with the movie. And a lot of people give me shit for not loving this movie and telling me that I'm being too sensitive with it. But he was just such a good dad. And I understand the teen angst. We've all been there. But she was so goddamn mean to him when he was just trying to be nice. And that scene right there, "Fine, I hate him." And she actually throws the banana at him. It's just too much. Just say, "Fine, I hate him," and then storm out. Don't fucking hurl the banana at your hapless dad who's clueless.
I will say this.
Leave him
I
alone.
have yet to be a parent to a teenage daughter, but I'm a parent to a 4-year-old daughter, and her favorite fucking thing is to physically attack me. Like she comes into the,
Not out of anger, though.
no, but I can see it manifesting itself in anger. Like this is what she does when she's happy. Imagine what she's going to do when she's angry later in life. Like,
no, Brian, they're two separate sections of the brain working there.
oh, don't explain the fucking neurology to me.
No, it's just not. I don't think she's very physical, perhaps, and maybe there's some correlation there. But hey, don't worry that she's not going to physically attack you because right now she has fun roughhousing with you.
She will come into bed and stand over me in the morning, and straddle my stomach, like stand over me. And she go, "Hi, Daddy," and then she will like drop, like free fall her butt onto my belly, like that. That's her idea of fun.
That's toddler behavior. I don't think there's anything abnormal about that. Here's what I have to say, though. She ever throws any kind of kitchen fruit, as you put it, at you in her teen years, straight to boarding school.
That's a good point. I really should keep that as an option.
To boarding. You know, my dad used to threaten me with boarding school all the time.
Oh, that would have been good. That would have been good for you. Military school.
The Black Fox Academy was one of them, and then there was another private type of boarding school that he used to. I can't remember the name of it now.
I know they have elite like East Coast boarding schools, like almost like Harvard prep type schools, but I don't know. I know a friend who went there, but to one of them, but I don't know. Do they still have like boarding school as punishment?
Oh, I'm sure. Absolutely. I mean, how would they not have that?
I don't
Because
know.
of the day and age that we live in. And like, they have military type boarding schools still, prep schools. I don't know. I shouldn't be speaking so confidently about this because I just can't imagine that they wouldn't have that. But maybe, because kids are always right now and they're all fucking precious. Sure. Listen, that wasn't the point, though. Black Fox Military Academy was the one that he was always bandying about. And then he found one that was more local, and then that became the new flavor. And I can't recall the name of it, but it wasn't until years later, years after I graduated, years after the threat was no longer applicable, did I learn that it was an all-girls school that he was threatening to send me to for years. And I don't even know if he knew. I don't even know if he knew. I don't know. But I mean, we didn't have the old internets back then, the interwebs. So I couldn't even Google this fucking place that he was constantly threatening to send me. I'd love to go back and spar with my dad now. Like I would just, every now and again, like when Atticus, needs to be, he's being naughty and he needs a little bit of punishment. I can see the anger in his face, and I know that I'm not going to approach anything like my dad did. Obviously, he gave me a great guide as to how not to approach strife, but I just think like I don't know. It's kind of recent, but I just imagine him in his little 4-year-old body right now when I'm getting frustrated and saying, "All right, buddy, you're gonna have to go." Like this is about as frustrated as I get with him, buddy. You're really making Daddy really frustrated right now, so you're gonna have to go and sit in your room and think about it until you relax. And meanwhile, he's like just having a meltdown. He's having a tantrum, which 4-year-olds do. And I have this like reverse fantasy that he just pulls it together and looks at me and just says, "You're being so childish right now. Look at you, you're a child." And that would just destroy me. And I wish I could go back in time. And I hope that I did some of that shit with my dad. I hope that I kind of just stopped and like realized that because my dad was very childish. And for my own child to call me a child would be the ultimate just fucking haymaker, I think, emotionally.
Interesting. We didn't talk about whether we consider ourselves good dads, but I think the more interesting approach to this would be you say whether you think I'm a good dad. I'll say whether I think you're a good dad.
Okay. On 3. 1, 2.
Sometimes.
Absolutely not.
Hurtful.
Here's how I approach it. No, I think you're a fine dad, especially when I consider how you must be very tired and things that I just take for granted you have to struggle with because of certain medications and whatnot. I can see that you really give it your all. And meds be damned, and I've seen that personally. I've been around you and your daughter a lot more than you've been around me and Atticus. And the way that I approach me being a dad with Atticus is I have no fucking clue, like the rest of us don't have a goddamn clue. This is the first time I've ever been down this path, and I'm going to try every single day and see what works and make it work. And I never once am I going to think, "Wow, I'm a really good dad," because the moment I think that, there's no room for improvement, and I'm going to start slipping. Right. So I'm constantly allowing fear to creep in. And really, really careful not to let these weeks turn into quick fly-by months and years, which is what we all hear as like younger parents or parents of younger kids.
Cliche, that's true.
Throughout the day, strangers are like, hey, enjoy it. I remember it. It seems like it just went by so quick. So that's why I do the Addie and Andy videos, and I tons of pictures. And I the best thing that has come out of COVID. Sorry, I'm waxing, but by far and away the best thing that's come out of COVID is I've been forced to be stay-at-home preschool teacher and stay-at-home dad with him for these last 8 months, 10 months. That he was supposed to be in school like at least 3 days a week. And I get to have him all of those days. And I can't imagine how many things we've done that we wouldn't have done if it wasn't for this unfortunate situation.
Well, let me, that's a perfect springboard to pay you a bit of a compliment. First of all, I think you're a very good dad as far as I can tell. But one of the things that I admire most about you as a dad is your ability to constantly be doing new and interesting things with Atticus, whether or not it's elaborate or not. It can be very, very simple, but you're doing like really interesting things. Like we have Tessa, obviously we're working and Christy's working full time, and like we have her in daycare or in preschool at this point, and that's awesome. But at the same time, I do look at you and Atticus and I see like, oh, they're doing a lot of like things together, and I don't think that Tessa's like missing out on a lot of dad time, but at the same time, like, wow, that's really awesome that you spend so much time doing new and interesting things with the boy.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I have fun inventing new things, and it's like I said, like I don't want this time to slip away, and I don't want to be like him to be 12 and me be like, oh, what could I have done? What should I can't imagine parents of like the 50s and 60s and every eon before that. That just like the dad for the most part was just 9 to 5, go to work, and then he'd come home and like don't talk to me, quiet, and just sit in his study, have a bourbon, like the bourbon awesome. Part in this. But I mean, just not having any involvement with the kid's life. It's like crazy. Why have a child?
Yeah, they're exactly that point. Other than to help on the farm, why have a kid?
Yeah, I don't know. But it's I thank God. I find it enjoyable, and it's not a task. You know what I mean? There are things that are obviously a task, but thank God it's for the most part, I really have a good time with it. And what's funny is the video that we shot just today is me looking in my present state. It's probably not going to come out for a few weeks, but it's me with my big ass beard and my hair every which way. I look like Robert Smith I have giant hair right now. And it's just me talking about how I'm at the end of my rope. I'm at my wit's end, and I have no idea what to do with the boy anymore because everything's closed, and it's been 10 months, and I've run out of things to do. That's the whole gist. It's called the no video, because I did a yes video with him where I said yes to anything he wanted to do in the garage. I said yes to, and I had to do a no video. I had to do a response video to that. So all right, enough.
Oh, what's your number 2?
Oh. And this for some people are still confused by this. I get emails still saying, "Hey, you wanted the episodes to be shorter, and ever since you broke them in 2, they're longer." And just to make it clear again, like I was concerned with each episode when we were doing Flick Fashions and the top 5s as we had done since the beginning. But those shows kept getting bigger and longer because of jaunts like this, jags like this. And now that I do break them into 2 separate episodes that are much more consumable by the more casual listener, I should say, I feel much more at ease just talking about our kids for 5 minutes. That's nothing to do with movies, and then we get back into it. So yes, they are definitely longer, and the Patreon listeners know that because they get one giant file, and usually they're 2.5 hour shows. So, all right,
sounds good.
So people are like mystified. They're like, I thought you were trying to make them shorter, and they're longer than ever. I like it, but they're longer than ever now. I guess people on Patreon are confused by that. So that's just to clarify one more time.
You've given yourself the freedom to wax.
I love the wax. All right, number 2 for me. It's my turn for 2, right? Yeah, here we go. Right? No, it's your turn. Have you done your 2? Yeah, you did your 2. Jesus Christ almighty. Number 2 for me is Guido in Life is Beautiful. And I know this movie is a bit divisive for some. Some people love it. Some people think it's absurd. And some people are even offended by it, I've heard. But this is a movie that's really put Roberto Benigni on the map. If you recall, if you were watching or into movies back in 1998, he was the darling, the sweetheart of the Oscars that year. His acceptance speech was preceded by him taking the backs of the chairs. He walked over the backs of
Anderson. I should point out that I mentioned my number one. I didn't have a clip because it's a foreign language film. Life is beautiful, la vita è bella. How could this not be there? I'm dying to know who is a better dad than Guido Orefice, played by Roberto Benigni. So he's taken to the concentration camps with his family, and he constructs an elaborate series of lies designed to disguise the horrors of the Holocaust. When they get on the train to take them to the concentration camp, he goes, "Seats on the train." The kid's like, "Oh, no seats," and he's like, "No seats on the train." But it's your first time. And he goes, "I got the last tickets for the train." I remember when the German officer is giving them instructions on where everything is and where they shower and where they poop. He goes up there to translate it. The guy's like, "Do you speak German?" He's like, "Nope." And he starts giving this whole elaborate speech about the rules of the game. If you follow the rules, you win a tank. All for benefit of his son, to keep him from the horrors of the Holocaust.
Right, and he's trying to keep that innocence alive in his kid, because the kid only gets one childhood, and he's going above and beyond. It really was touching, and I can't imagine how I would respond to it now. Having a kid of my own, I would probably respond to it even more fondly. I did like this movie quite a bit. I didn't think I would. I remember dreading it back in 98.
I think this movie went through a few phases. Like, it was beloved, then there was backlash. It's like, fucking Life is Beautiful. Now I feel like it's properly sort of rated.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's the goalposts are always moving on what's favorable, and I try not to pay attention to what I'm supposed to like or what I'm not supposed to like. I try not to pay attention to that, but I remember liking this movie quite a bit. It was inventive, it was ballsy, and I was kind of excited to see what else we get out of Roberto Benigni, but he faded away. I mean, I think he made Pinocchio and no one cared.
It's been pretty quiet.
I wonder if he'll come back up, because he is a character. He wrote. Did he write this one?
Yeah, written and directed. He was the auteur.
Written, directed, and starred in Life is Beautiful, which I would imagine a lot of our listeners have not seen. This Life is Beautiful, and it's one of the rare Holocaust movies that is chock full of levity. I mean, it's not slapstick, even though he does slapstick stuff to keep his son amused.
Good news! Stream on HBO.
HBO Max?
It just says HBO and HBO on Amazon Prime, so I have to assume it's both.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, HBO Max has really screwed everything up and made everything very confusing. But I'm sure that will all play out.
This is a delightful movie, even though it does, the final act takes place in the Holocaust, or second half, or whatever it is. This is a delightful film.
You think Cinemax is cool with HBO Max just doing this?
Well, that was my initial question. Did HBO acquire Cinemax or something?
I don't think that it has anything to do with Cinemax.
But it feels like copyright infringement.
I think they just had HBO. They had HBO Now, HBO Go, and then they're like, you know what? It's better than HBO Now and HBO Go. HBO Max.
Cinemax.
It's HBO to the max, really. Let me know when you're ready for my number one, and I'll drop some.
I believe it is owned by parent network HBO. That's how they're able to get away with it.
Why don't you guys just merge and be done with Cinemax?
Yeah,
because then people won't know what Cinemax
Who's really
is.
invested in the Cinemax brand? It's like, I love my Cinemax. Do you?
Yeah, I mean, all of the credit, rightfully so, that we give to Stars is because it continues to come up on movies that are on our list. How often do you hear me say Cinemax? It's rare. It happens, but it's very rare that I'm like, you gotta have Cinemax to watch that one
weird. It's
right
like
now. Why don't you just put the Cinemax entire library as part of your? I like how we're solving this this giant corporate.
They've had no discussions about this.
Swallow them. And I want to see like a little cartoon where HBO Pink. You know what? T-Mobile should be pissed off too, because it's very similar to the fuchsia. But I want to see a cartoon where HBO Max chases down and swallows and tears apart Cinemax and eats it much like a shark would a small fish. I want to see that, and then I'll feel good about having HBO
In
Max.
January 2020, Warner Media executives who own Cinemax now, acknowledged that in light of the company's pending launch of the HBO Max streaming service, Cinemax would no longer be commissioning original programming.
What did they have original? Did they have the Nick? I think the Nick might be the only original programming I've ever seen on Cinemax.
I could not tell you.
And I'm pretty sure it was the Nick. And the Nick is one of my top 5 favorite television shows of all time. So well done, Cinemax, if that is the case.
I'm dying to know what you think is a better dad than Roberto Benigni.
Well, Brian, I'll tell you. Hold on.
Cinemax show.
Yeah, Cinemax. Cinemax.
Cinemax.
The
I don't
Nick.
recognize a single one of these. This is the Nick.
I'm telling you, the Nick. Oh, so good. So good. So fucking good, that Nick. Soderbergh. Crushing it. All right, here we go. Number 1 for me, Brian. Robin Williams. That's right. Robin Williams plays a very, very effective and loving father.
It's better in Mrs. Doubtfire.
In not Doubtfire. In World's Greatest Dad. World's Greatest Dad. World's Greatest Dad. It brings sadness. It hurts my heart to think about. It makes me laugh at the same time. And that's what Bobcat Goldthwait does so well. He brings you the raw.
This son treats his dad the way that the girl in 8th grade treats her dad. And yet you like this one?
Oh, I know. He's not. That said son is not around for very long now, is he?
That's true.
Right. He gets what's his. He gets what's coming.
That's true.
Yeah, so the whole movie kicks off. The storyline kicks off with the death of the son. He's trying to rub one out with with some ligature around his neck. I believe it was his bathrobe. His son is just awful. Like the most putrid. Like he belongs in a Harmony Korine movie. He's just so foul mouthed and sex obsessed and rude. And he's just an awful human being. Teenage son. And poor Robin Williams is so unassuming and he's trying. He's not very good. He doesn't really know how to be there especially for such a handful of a son, right? And then his son, he's the one who finds the son. It's very touching. It's an effective scene, even though the son is such a you're repulsed by this boy, and he finds his dead son, and he's very concerned that his son is going to be remembered as the kid that died beating off. So he takes the body after he gathers his senses. I'm talking about Lance Clayton, played by Robin Williams very effectively, and he strings his boy up to make it look like it was a suicide, and he hung himself, and he writes the suicide note, and it should be mentioned that Lance Clayton is a failed novelist, writer, never really amounted to much, always wanted to be a writer, but never really got anything published. And, he wrote in his own pen his son's very touching, thought-provoking suicide note. And it somehow leaked to the school, the high school where his son went. They got a hold of it, and then all these people started pretending like they were really close to his son, and in fact his son only had one friend, and so it's working. His kid's going to be remembered well instead of as the dude that died beating off. And then he kind of takes a little bit farther, and he starts getting some of his own gratification by getting people to read his quote unquote son's journals and previous writings, and it's actually his own writings, and he's finally getting the appreciation that he so wanted before his son died. And there's that complexity to it. It's just a really makes you think type of movie. It's Bobcat Goldthwait really firing on all cylinders. I love this World's Greatest Dad. It's fantastic.
A very dark comedy that comes together well.
Very, very dark comedy right up to the end. And it's got one of those endings that's just like, how do you end a movie like this? And it's like, I don't know if I would have ever thought of that, but it fucking works. It's perfect. It's a perfect ending. And I love this movie, World's Greatest Dad. Sure, there's some dads on my list that might have given a little bit more and been better fathers, say. But this is my favorite depiction of a dad trying to do the right
that
thing.
makes sense. He's a doting dad. I mean, doting in the sense that he's not doting. Sorry, he's I don't know what word you use, but he's constantly trying to break through to his son. His son's just so shitty to him.
So I mean, there is no helping. Like from an outsider, as a viewer of this movie, you see it and you just go, oh, that kid's lost. Like, don't even bother. Just turn your back on him. You know, just count the days till he's 18. But you can't do that when it's your own flesh and blood. And you can see that he's still trying, and he's not being combative. He's just trying to break through. And because he can't see that his son's a sociopath. I mean, literally, like his son is just a horrific, despicable sociopath who probably would grow up to be like a rapist, if not at least a date rapist. You know, you could tell that this kid's not going places.
Yeah, the world's probably a better place without him.
Yeah, absolutely. The world definitely was. I mean, I think that's depicted too. Like, and I should say, like, he's got one friend. Like, this kid had one friend. His dad's life improved. The school improves. I mean, the school is like, you know, kind of like they take notice and they're like, you know, and it makes them kind of come together around the memory of this despicable kid who no longer is despicable. They didn't even know him. But now they're all claiming to have, you know, known him and loved him. And you know how kids can be like, oh yeah, it was so important to me. Like, that kid was such a good friend. But his one friend, his actual friend, Andrew, you know, he recognizes that this does not seem like the kid that I was friends with. What's going on with this writing?
We should point out that the actor's name, Daryl Savara. He's very good.
He is. He's fantastic. He plays Kyle. And Daryl, where would you know Daryl from?
I didn't recognize any of his credits.
He's in things that we don't see, like, oh, you saw John Carter, didn't you?
I
see
did not
Tusk
see John Carter.
Monkeys? I thought we called that Tusk Monkeys and you saw it.
I don't think I did.
He's in Spy Kids. I mean, he's in a lot of shit. He's in a lot of movies. I'm sure he's in something that we've both seen. He's a Machete. He's in stuff that we've seen, but he doesn't lead in many things. But he's very memorable in this movie. If you see him in this, you'll never forget him.
No. Yeah.
All right.
There we go. Let's gamble and wrap this up.
Oh, we got a listener list as well.
Right. Thank you.
Compiled every week by Jordan Wolf. And if you would like to gamble, or not gamble, if you would like to let us know your favorite movie of a particular topic, I always post the question on Monday. Jordan compiles them by midday Tuesday. So if you see the post, get it out there quickly. It shows up on our Facebook, Twitter, and on our Instagram, which is at Anderson and Brian, and everything is at the Film Vault. And Jordan Wolf goes through, thank God, and puts together our list, which I love having this list. I should point out first and foremost, Jordan's favorite is Adam Sandler in Big Daddy. And
so weird.
I love Adam Sandler, but I hate those kids in Big Daddy. Movie. Those kids were despicable. Those kids were like junior versions of Kyle. Imagine if Eric Cartman was horny. That's kind of what Kyle is.
Oh, no.
In World's Greatest Dad, right? He's like a horny, not as fat Eric Cartman.
Really shitty to his dad. Like, I don't remember. And
shitty to his dad.
And, you know.
And about women, everything was sex. All right. A lot of ties this week, and we got 7 picks total for the listeners. So here we go. Tied for 5. We got 4 with Arnold in Commando.
Yeah,
good choice.
Arnold and True
Good choice. Steve Martin in Parenthood. Yep. All right. Clark Griswold in Christmas.
For his family. Threatens to quit his job because he wants to spend more time with his family. I'm down with that.
Clark Griswold in Christmas Vacation.
Any vacation, really, yeah.
He tries. I mean, he's kind of a shitty dad, and that's where the humor is, but he tries. He's not trying to be a shitty dad.
For effort.
He's a failing father. J.K. Simmons and Juno. I honestly, I've scrubbed most of that movie from my head.
He's a good dad.
Scrubbed it. All right, now we have a couple tied for 2, and this goes like this: Marlin and Finding Nemo.
That's true.
Yep.
He goes to great
Cliff Worley.
Great lengths to find his son.
Cliff Worley in True Romance, says the listeners. All right, and number 1 is Josh Hamilton in 8th grade with 7.4% of the overall and 23% of the top 5. Almost 1 in 4 people who voted. And we got a number of. I think we had. I forget. How many? We had like 30 different characters named. It wasn't the easiest one to reference, and I think 8th grade is up there because of recency bias, as they say, Brian. Yeah.
That's weird. I was surprised.
Are we doing our also rans?
There you go. Well, perhaps we should save our also rans for a future top 5, perhaps on Patreon, like we discussed off the air.
Yeah, every now and again we come up. We do a list that's so robust that we've done it plenty of times in the past, way back, Logan days, where we're like, we should do a part 2 of this down the road sometime. So I guess we'll do that with this because you're right. There's a number that I had a hard time nixing from my list. So we'll do a part 2 of this later.
Future Patreon episode, maybe.
Top 5 good dads, which is a rare turn for us to do something so nice and positive. And I tried. I wanted to do this around Father's Day just so that there's some kind of purpose or reason behind it. But Brian, he refused. Refused. I gave him like 3 or 4 different options.
Sorry.
Too much research. Too much research.
Busy being a good dad. Ironically.
All right. Let's get out of
Gamble.
here. I don't know if that's ironic. Oh, yeah, we're going to gamble. Son of a bitch. Forgot how to do this. All right, last week we gambled on The Dig. Brian said 86%. I know, Brian said 90%. I said 86%. And going to the...
we were dead tied, right? It was 88 right between us.
Yes, we were dead tied. And going to this week's, thanks to Gio, who does this for us each week. Where is your results from gambling? Here it is. 87%, making me the winner. I almost nailed it. I said 86. It is 87. Let's see here. Let's see.
Tough
what
being
should
off
we
by
watch?
3 and losing.
What should we watch? Hold on. I wasn't prepared. I should have been prepared for this. Hold on. Give me a second here. You know what? Maybe I'll let you know off air. How about that?
Send it to me. People like to know, but do whatever you got to do.
All right, keep going.
We can gamble this week on, thanks to Gio for sending us all of our gambling materials. Nomadland comes out this week, which you and I have both seen, right?
Yeah.
I don't know this.
That keeps coming out.
I don't know the score, but we could guess on that movie you both already seen. Willy's Wonderland, which I don't know anything about. Nicolas Cage movie. And Bart.
That's the one that got all the it went viral. Did the trailer went viral?
Oh, really? No, not to me. And Barb and Star go to Vista Del Mar.
I'm still trying to figure out. I'm going to give you something to watch. I'm going to give you something before we're done here. All right, I got something for you. I got something for you. First Cow.
I will be
streaming on Showtime.
I will be texting you what you assigned me soon.
You'll be asking me about 3 days from now. I'll get a text from Brian. I'll be like, here it comes. And I'll open it and it'll say, what'd you assign me? What was it? Instead of just listening to the show, which everyone can do. All right. What are we gambling on?
Whatever you want. We have Nicky or Willy's Wonderland. Willy's
Wonderland,
which you and I both seen, and Barb and Star.
Yeah, this is another one of these low rent Nick Cage losing his shit, but you never know. Sometimes it's really good. Sometimes it breaks through. So Willy's Wonderland. You ever see Mom and Dad? I think that's what it was called, Mom and Dad with Nick Cage, where like some kind of unfortunate event makes all parents want to kill their offspring, and it's just him and his wife trying to kill. Willy's Wonderland. All right. Tell me when you're
I'm
ready.
just drawing dead here. I have no idea. I'll just throw out a number. Ready?
Wait, hold on. I'm not ready. I'm not prepared. Willy's. All right, and Brian and A. Okay, because I got to write it down. I don't want to have to go back and listen. You know what I'm saying? All right.
Doesn't Gio usually give it to us? Oh, wait.
No,
okay, we didn't tie. I was going to say, wasn't he supposed to assign us a movie? But no, we didn't tie.
I keep track here, Barbara. All right. On 3?
Yes, sir.
1, 2,
65.
71.
Ooh, pretty close.
Ooh. 65. Let me not mark that down on my notes. And here we go. Moment of truth. What it is right now. Thanks to Gio. Current scores for gambling. 60.
Is it really? Nice.
Unfortunate.
Very fortunate for me and for the listeners.
Unfortunate. Hey, I almost forgot. I would like to do this real quick, which is something I don't know if I've ever done before in the history of this here program, but there is a podcast for Patriot, which is, I have a huge fondness for that Amazon show, Patriot. I know a lot of you also love. It's gone, yeah. So it ends after 2 seasons. I still have not seen the very last episode. I like knowing that there's one episode that's still fresh for me. The second season didn't quite do as much for me. There were some things that I really winced at, but all that being said, the first season for the most part is one of some of the greatest television I've ever seen. The characters and the look, it has no business looking as good as it does. It sings, it's so funny. Anyways, for those of you who are familiar with it and Leslie Claret, played by Kurtwood Smith, there is a 3-part podcast that you can find out there that I absolutely love, and it's in the spirit of Patriot. It's Leslie Claret. He's actually reading from his book, that big giant tome that he has in the show. So just giving a quick heads up, I actually reviewed it. I actually gave a written review, which I never do for podcasts, and I didn't realize how much I loved it and why until I was writing the review. And it's a lot about my dad and how my dad's no longer around, but he would have loved this show. So let me give you that. Actually, I was so unprepared, Brian, that I don't even have the title.
Why did you interject with this?
All right, here's the title. It's a very long title, so forgive me. You'll understand when I do find it. It is called The Integral Principles of the Structural Dynamics of Flow. So look that up on iTunes or wherever you find podcasts. It's 3 parts. It's got some music in there, but it's mostly Leslie Claret, played by Kurtwood Smith, talking about his childhood and whatnot. And Trub, which is short for trouble.
Trub.
Very good. Trub.
All right.
So good.
Very good.
All
right.
Go ahead.
Let's look at your notes here. Where the hell they might be.
I hope, yeah, Brian. I got it right there. This week's listener art is brought to us by Bruce Perky.
Timely.
You know what? Genius,
Timely.
too, because you see how it's kind of just sloppily
It
thrown
really
together,
is.
like very DIY. Yeah, that's to have the parallels
That's
with the
in
movie.
keeping with the ethos of the film.
In keeping with ethos of the film, exactly.
Thanks, Bruce. It's excellent art, timely as well. Check that out, andersonandbrian.com. Mock Puppet is the featured artist this week. Check us out over on Patreon. We got a lot of good stuff, including bonus spoiler episodes for In and of Itself and A Promising Young Woman and A Sound of Metal, which seems to have kind of slipped away, but I expect that to, no pun intended, make some noise at the Oscars. That's a very good movie.
Brian.
So check that out over at The Film Vault on Patreon. Thanks for paying attention to that Amazon banner that sits atop andersonandbrian.com. Means a lot to us. The Film Vault on Facebook and Twitter. Anderson and Brian is our handle over on Instagram. That's where you guys can vote on top 5s, submit topic ideas, tell us what you're watching. Thank you to our Patreon listeners and Giovanni for helping us out with our gambling every week. Jordan Wolf, Mitch Burns, Mike Cole. We couldn't do the show without you, or we could, and we really wouldn't want to. Thank you guys. Thank you everyone for listening. Until next time.
We do, Vivango.
Bye.